The irony of all the criticism of the Biden administration for adopting protectionism and for leading a subsidies race is that everyone's doing it. I mean, the Europeans have done it, China's done it, India's done it as well. I think one thing I wanted to push you on was how um, effective some of these US curbs on China's ability to either produce high-end semiconductors, chips, or to proliferate its technology around the world. How effective are these measures? Is China able to find ways around it? Or does it mean that, in cutting China off from the world when it comes to high-end semiconductors, we're incentivizing China to make immense investments in trying to catch up with the likes of, say, Taiwan or the Netherlands?
I think it is a fairly substantial restriction that the US government has crafted, but at the same time, it is still going to be a leaky sieve. The reality of it is that a lot of chips are produced en masse, that particular chips are not necessarily very well tracked, and that the Chinese entrepreneurs have a great incentive to be able to try to buy the highest end GPUs for their most advanced AI systems. I saw a story in Reuters just yesterday about Huaqiangbei, which is a electronics market in Shenzhen, which is certainly the hardware capital for China, if not the world, that a lot of these high-end NVIDIA GPU chips are being bid up twice their normal price because people are quite keen to get their hands on what is now a prohibited product. So some sort of transshipment is taking place. Some form of smuggling is taking place. And at the same time, I think what this is really incentivizing is that a lot of Chinese companies, which were world-leading companies, whether we think about something like Huawei, whether we think about something like ByteDance and Xiaomi, a lot of these companies, which previously had no time for buying Chinese domestic alternatives, they really wanted the best products in the world to be able to manufacture their own products in the world. They really had no time to buy a lot of Chinese technology, procure from Chinese technologies. Now they have been very strongly incentivized by the U.S. government to build up the domestic ecosystem. It is not because they are now much more loyal to Beijing's diktats. It is not because they are trying to prove their political credentials to President Xi Jinping. It is because they want business continuity. The U.S. government has denied them a lot of leading electronics. And so when I think about China's long-term technology progress, I'm still a little bit split on the idea that US sanctions, US prohibitions have actually set back China's ability to innovate over the longer term. I think it is just as likely that in 10, 15 years from now, we will be able to see a Chinese technology ecosystem, which perhaps may not be quite flourishing, perhaps it has not quite caught up with Western chip makers in every single way, but it is strong enough to serve a lot of domestic needs. And I think that is quite possible because US sanctions have made it so, that the track record of US sanctions in places like Cuba or places like Iran or North Korea have generally not toppled authoritarian regimes. That has made a lot of domestic supply be about good enough, certainly not world leading, but about good enough to meet at least domestic needs. And I think that is a quite plausible scenario for China. And I think that is one of these impacts of US sanctions.